Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Zacobia. I wear many hats, many titles: wife, mom, real estate agent, registered nurse. The one that's most relevant to probably why you're watching this video right now is that I am also a breast cancer survivor. And so today I wanted to dive in and help those who may be facing neuropathy, specifically chemotherapy induced neuropathy. And so I had a individual who has subscribed to my channel comment a few times asking about what did I do to help with neuropathy. So I kind of figured that maybe someone else is needing this information as well. And so I decided to do a full video on what I did specifically to help manage and ultimately to avoid it as much as possible. So if you have come across this video and you're watching this now, you are either dealing with chemotherapy-induced neuropathy yourself, or you know someone who is dealing with the painful, uncomfortable, oftentimes just really hard to even bear with side effects of neuropathy. Or you may be someone who was like me, who wanted to try to avoid it as much as possible in the beginning. And so I'm glad you found this video, and hopefully this would be a big help to you. And so chemotherapy induced neuropathy is neuropathy that is caused by chemotherapy. And so what happens is when you take the chemotherapy, it not only kills or damages the cancer cells, it also can damage your good cells. And some of those cells, or some of those good things that can be damaged in relation to the chemotherapy, are your nerves, unfortunately. And so chemotherapy induced neuropathy is where you get numbness, tingling, weakness. Some people even complain of feeling like it's like pins and needles, or just pain in your hands and in your feet. Chemotherapy induced neuropathy is a serious side effect that's obviously from chemotherapy. And it pretty much is caused by several different types of chemotherapy drugs. A drug in particular that breast cancer patients may receive is called a taxane type drug, or Taxol, may be a familiar term that you've heard if you're going through breast cancer treatment, or if you're someone who is recently diagnosed and have received a treatment plan. This is part of the TC combination of drugs, so Taxol and carboplatin. Carboplatin can cause neuropathy as well, but it's not as associated with the neuropathy as much as the Taxol is. Taxol, or those who receive Taxol, have like an 80% chance, over 80% chance of having chemotherapy induced neuropathy. So it is a big major side effect that's associated with taking a taxane type drug. And oftentimes it's a side effect that a lot of people have a struggle with dealing with, because ultimately neuropathy can't be cured once the cells are damaged, once the nerves are damaged. It's they don't have a way of kind of repairing that damage yet. And so oftentimes people deal with the pain and the discomfort associated with it for years and years, past the actual cancer diagnosis, years past the actual treatment. And so that's what makes it such a constant reminder for a lot of patients. It's that nagging, that nagging pain that you can't get away from, that you just learn to live with. And so, yeah, it is a big deal, and a lot of people deal with it. And so, the best way to manage neuropathy overall is to try to avoid it as much as possible. If you can get in front of your treatments and protect your nerves before you start the chemotherapy, then that's a good chance that you may not have to deal with the neuropathy or the side effects of it, the effects of it later on. Of course, ultimately, not everyone is able to get ahead of it, or some people may do the recommendation to try to avoid it, and it still may not help. But again, the best way to manage it is to try to avoid it as much as possible. I know that sounds crazy, because you're not, I mean, how are you managing something that you don't get? I'm going to explain that a little bit more going into it in terms of what I did specifically. But yeah, that's the best way. Now, if you are dealing with it, some of the things that I have found to be helpful is like natural therapies. And so I don't like to take a lot of medications. As you can imagine, a person that doesn't like to take a lot of medications had a hard time with the whole chemotherapy treatment plan and everything that came with that. But yeah, just naturally, I'm not a huge medication person. I try to do things that are natural as much as possible because I do believe that God has given us everything here in this earth that we need. And it's just a matter of us being able to unlock whatever it is that we need for whatever it is that we're going through. And so, with that being said, some of the natural ways to manage neuropathy will include physical therapy, massage, acupuncture, cryotherapy. There are all kinds of natural ways to somewhat manage and cope with the symptoms. If these things are not working, compression, that's another way to help manage the side effects of it. If these things aren't helping, then at some point you may have to speak with your provider to get a medication that may help with the side effects of it. Because like I said, it can be unbearable. And most people find that you feel it the most when you're at rest. So like as long as you're up and moving and doing stuff constantly, you don't tend to focus on it as much. It's still there. The pain, the discomfort, it still lingers, but you don't focus on it as much. And so it tends to be more annoying, more aggravating at night when you finally lie down in bed and try to get some rest. That's when you're like, it's hard to relax. It's hard to focus at that point, or hard to not focus on the pain and discomfort that you're feeling. Some other ways to naturally help with it could be that you use a TENS machine, and that's the machine that provides the transcutaneous electrical impulses to like your muscles and things like that. Physical exercise can also help with it because it helps to improve circulation. And basically, the nerves, if they're dead, they're not getting a lot of blood supply to it. It's not getting a lot of circulation. And so sometimes that can help as well. I have found that some people who have it severely have noticed like over time it gets a little bit better. But again, ultimately, if you suffer a lot of damage, it's hard to reverse the damage. And so you're basically finding ways to just kind of cope with it. And like I said, naturally, you want to try to cope as natural as possible if you're not a person that's huge on having to take medication for the rest of your life. So when I was going through the journey, I was told about a lot of the side effects to anticipate ahead of time. And so one of the things that someone told me was that I needed to do ice therapy to protect my hands and my feet when I got a certain medication to prevent having neuropathy. It was something that they had done when they went through chemotherapy, and they were, pretty confident and pretty proud to say that that was a side effect that they didn't deal with. There were other side effects, obviously, that they dealt with, but the neuropathy wasn't one of them. And so, me being the type of person that I am, when you give me information like that, I am going to research it for myself and see if it's something that would be beneficial to me as well. And so that's what I did. And so, me being able to research and find out that a lot of people were doing, ice therapy when they were getting the taxane type drugs was, what they believed was helping them to not have issues with neuropathy. And so it was something that I incorporated in my treatments immediately. Like as soon as I heard about it, I went to my next treatment with Ziploc bags that I could fill with ice at the hospital and be able to put the ice on my hands and feet while I was getting the chemotherapy. And so that was one of the key things that I, learned, and that I was told that it was something that you did while you were receiving the actual chemotherapy medication. You want to do it because, as you're receiving it, that medication is going all through your body, through every cell, every membrane, everything that's within. And so you want to be able to protect your hands and feet while you're getting the medication, because that's when that's when it's most potent in your body. That's when it's, the strongest in your body. Over the next couple of days, you'll still have it in your system because it takes a couple of days for it to get out of your system completely. But in terms of when it's like, the most potent on cells and everything, it's while it's being infused. And so I made it a point to do that, like I said, for every single treatment session that I had that I was getting Taxol, I had ice on my hands and my feet. Was it uncomfortable? Extremely, because I'm a person that does not like to be cold. However, it was something that I felt like was necessary and it was worth trying because I didn't want to deal with that side effect either. And if it helped her, then surely it should help me as well. And so I was all in for it. And so, yeah, so most of the treatment session, I think my Taxol came in, if I'm not mistaken, it was like the second lineup of things that I got after, the pre-meds and everything else. And so I would get the Taxol after the Carbo, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember right now. But nevertheless, I went into my treatments like prepared, and I would ask my nurse to let me know when it was time for her to infuse the Taxol. When it was time for her to infuse the Taxol, she would let me know. My husband would fill the bags with ice, and he would come in. And at that point, I would, go ahead and slip my hands in, or, put the ice over my hands at that time until I got this new product that I was going to show you. But I would put my hands down, and then we'd put the ice over my hands. You want to make sure that you have some type of layer of protection over your hands at first. And so I would do like a sheet that they would lie across my lap and across my legs. And after that, then we would take the ice bags and set it on top of my feet. And then we'd set it on top of my hands. And I just sit in that position for at least an hour. Like I said, was it cold? Absolutely. Was it uncomfortable? Absolutely. But again, I felt like it was necessary. And so that's how I faced every treatment that I had with the Taxol. Now, once the medication was done infusing, then we take it off, and, I go on and receive the next medication, and, not worry about it. But every time that I would receive that medication specifically, because it has such a high percentage of causing it, I was ready to go in there and protect my hands and feet as much as possible. And so ultimately, while I was going through chemotherapy, I never experienced any type of numbness, tingling, pain, or anything in my hands and feet at all. Like nothing. Like I never had any discomfort. I remember going for my appointments. I'd go for my appointments before my infusions. And that would be like one of the main questions they would ask, do you have any problems with numbness, tingling, pain, anything like that in your hands and feet? And every time I'd say no, because I didn't experience anything at all during the time when I was going for my infusions. After my infusion stops is when I started experiencing pain in my feet. Nothing specifically in my hands too much, a little bit of joint pain every now and then in my hands, but nothing that was constant. The main pain that I would feel would be in my feet. And to be honest, like it's still not necessarily diagnosed as neuropathy, because what I describe is not typical for neuropathy, but I can feel like the doctors feel like it may be like a form of neuropathy, if that makes sense. So what I feel, I still don't feel numbness or tingling, or weakness or anything like that. However, I have a constant, dull, annoying pain in my feet. And it was really bad initially once the infusion stopped, but it has gotten better over time. I have gone on to find shoes, and I did videos talking about the pain, years back. But I went on and found different types of shoes to wear to help with it. It's pain that feels like I've been working a 12-hour shift and I've been on my feet all day. That's what it feels like. And I notice it more at night. Once I lie down in the bed and I'm like, oh man, I'm finally ready to go to sleep. That's when I feel that annoying pain. What tends to help with it is compression. So a lot of times I'll get my husband to massage my feet when he feels like doing that. It's not often, but when he does, it feels absolutely amazing. So massage still helps with it. Or just honestly, just like squeezing it, like just having like compression on it, just holding it tight feels so much better. And so a lot of times will be like where he can just kind of apply pressure to it. And I'm finally able to go off to sleep and I don't notice it anymore. But it's a every night thing that I notice. It's one of those things where ultimately I hope that I don't have to deal with it forever. But at the same time, it's something that, like, if I have to deal with it forever, then, surely out of all the things that I could have dealt with forever, like I could find a way to deal with it because it's not that bad. It's annoying, but it's not bad. I'm still able to walk. I get up and do everything I need to do all day. Like I said, at the end of the day, it feels like I've worked all day when I haven't most days. And it feels like that in the morning as well when I wake up. So it's super annoying. But like I said, is it the typical numbness, tingling, pins and needles, no. So ultimately, I try not to complain about it too much because I know that it could be worse. So I do believe that the ice treatment and the ice packs on my hands and feet definitely help, because again, that's the only type of pain that I experience in my feet, and I don't have it in my hands, as well. And so they're like, sounds like a form of neuropathy. Everything affects everyone different. Ultimately, all in all, it's not anything that I need medication for. So, we tend to talk about it at my appointments, but it's not a huge focus of my appointments. It's now been going on for like 2 years. And so, yeah, ultimately, like it's just been a part of me right now. And I just do the best I can to make sure that, we massage, we put compression, or we put pressure on it, and it helps with it. It really does help a lot. Another thing that I have considered, just with overall pain, is like maybe doing cryotherapy regularly, because I've heard about all the benefits to it, but I haven't done it yet. So I'll have to pop back in and update you guys when I start doing that. But it is something that I've heard that helps with joint pain a lot, and so it's something that I want to do, but haven't done it yet. So I can't really speak on that. But what I know that does work is massage, compressions. Oh, another thing that I was able to get to help as well is a foot roller, which I'll show you in a second. So I got a foot roller that, like, when I'm just sitting in a chair like I'm sitting in right now, I can just take my foot and kind of rub back and forth. I know I'm moving my legs as a motion, but y'all can't see it. But yeah, just kind of move my feet back and forth on it, and that helps with circulation. So circulation is the main thing that helps with the type of discomfort that I'm feeling, although it's not the typical definition of the neuropathy that you would read about. And so another thing I want to show you is the item that I eventually got over the course of treatments. I didn't have it when I initially went in. Like I said, I would put ice in a Ziploc bag and just use that over my hands. But a good friend of mine from college ended up sending me a care package because I was telling her about, what I was doing and all of that. And so she sent me a care package that included these little mittens, these magic gel mittens that you can freeze and take them with you to your treatments. And for treatments, all you have to do is slip your hands. So you simply slip your hands in, and it has like this little elastic Velcro strap. So this elastic Velcro strap can then go around. I have it kind of messed up right now. There we go. And so you can wrap that down and get it as tight as you want it. It freezes solid hard. So you can freeze it the night before and then take it with you to your treatments. You don't have to take it like in a cooler or anything, because trust me, once it's frozen like rock solid. And to be honest, when it's frozen really, really hard like that, it's very uncomfortable to wear that whole entire time, unless you have, again, some type of barrier method that you can put on your hands before you slide it into the frozen solid magic gel mitten. And so I have done it before. That's why I'm speaking from experience. So I have gone before and it's been frozen solid. And so what I have done was just like take a scarf, a shirt, something thin that I can also slip on my hand, and then slip my hand in, because you don't want to burn your skin. You don't want to get frostbite or frostbitten or anything like that. So you want to protect your skin from the extreme coldness, and it's because you don't want any other new problems, obviously. And so that's one way that you can do it if this is going to be frozen solid, if you decide to get something like this. So I do have the link to my Amazon storefront in my description. So just, click below in the description and you will see the link for the Amazon storefront, where you could actually find this very same product that I was gifted, and you can order it as well. I recently became an Amazon affiliate, so I will earn, commissions from any purchase. But again, if anyone is interested, that information is below. If you want to get it separately, that's totally up to you too. But if you want to make it easy, I have a whole storefront of things that helped me when I was going through my journey that you can, find below and be able to click that. And so, yeah, these helped a lot. And so the other thing I'm going to show is the foot roller. Okay, so the other thing that I was talking about, the foot roller, this is the foot roller. And so this is extremely helpful with circulation. You simply just put it on the floor in front of you, and you take the, the soles of your feet and you just go back and forth on it. And it has it to where, I mean, it's wood, so you can apply as much pressure as you feel like you need by just pressing down into it more. But yeah, this feels amazing. Like, it's absolutely amazing. It doesn't seem like much, but again, when I'm just sitting watching a movie or something, I'll pull this out and put it in front of me, and that whole time I'm just going back and forth with it, and it does help with the discomfort that I felt. So again, I don't have like the textbook version of neuropathy, but in terms of the pain that I do feel that's associated from whatever it did to my body, these are things that help with it. So just to recap, I do believe the ice therapy kept it to where I do not have extreme neuropathy in my hands and feet. Again, I don't have any problems with my hands at all. They don't bother me at all. And so the only type of pain that I feel is in my feet. And so I do believe the ice therapy helps. And so if it's something that you can do when you go to your treatments, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. The best way to manage neuropathy is to avoid it as much as possible. And so if you can go in there and do ice therapy, do cryotherapy before that infusion, during that infusion, then I believe that it's going to help minimize the discomfort that you feel from it. And then if you do have any other, pain or discomfort associated with it, again, this is something that has helped me. That's a natural, remedy that I have at home. Doesn't require me to go to the doctor or anything like that. It's something that I, purchased off of Amazon. It's on my storefront as well. And so be sure to check that out to find items that were extremely helpful to me when I was going through chemotherapy. Okay, guys. So yeah, just to recap, neuropathy, I mean, it's an awful side effect, just related to the chemotherapy drugs. And like I said, it's several drugs that, can cause it. And so the best way to manage it is to try to get ahead of it. And again, I am a huge proponent for saying try ice therapy when you go in for those treatments. Doctors aren't going to say it. I don't think I mentioned that earlier. Doctors aren't really going to talk about it, but if you ask your nurses about it, they'll probably tell you that they see a lot of patients that do it. And so it's something that you can ask your doctors about. I don't think that it has enough research on it for them to necessarily recommend it. And so I think that that's why they're not really recommending it. But there's a huge community of us, those who have gone through that journey. It's a huge community of us that like kind of swear by it, because we felt like, compared to those who did not use it and what they complain of, we felt like we may have dodged it completely by using, the ice therapy. So it's something that I highly recommend. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope that this was extremely helpful. I didn't mean to make it too long, but I hope that this is helpful, and especially to my new subscriber who was asking me a lot of questions about neuropathy. I hope that this helps you. If you are dealing with it and you feel like you can manage it naturally, please try some of these recommendations that I told you about. If you're actively going through the treatments, you need to be doing the ice therapy on your hands and your feet. Start now. I don't care if you're already experiencing the neuropathy. It doesn't mean that you're too late, you're too far behind it. Like, start doing it now to try to minimize any other type of damage. Okay. All right. Thank you again. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will check you out in the next video. Thanks, guys.